largest species of penguins in the world. We take care of king penguins and emperor penguins. Something I'm asked a lot is the difference between those two species, because if you're just looking at them, they can look pretty similar. So the easiest way is to tell by size. So our emperor penguins have about 45 pounds on our biggest king penguins. So they're quite a bit larger. They're also more of a girthy, husky bird versus our king penguins tend to be more on the leaner side. And the easiest way, if the size doesn't look too obvious for you, is actually on the side of their heads. They have some different markings from one another. So our emperor penguins, which there's kind of a group of them over here right behind me, they have more of a half circle that's a dull yellow color, versus our king penguins have an almost completed circle, which is a bright orange color. So that's how you can tell the differences between those two. So those are the 6 species that we take care of inside of our Antarctic enclosure. It is about 24 degrees in there, and they are walking on real snow. Actually, we have to blow that snow every single day for these guys. Penguins, they have very fast metabolisms, so they eat a lot, and they go to the bathroom a lot. So the snow in here actually gets really dirty really quickly. So every single morning, we have to haul up big fire hoses, and we thaw out all of the snow from the day before, about half of the exhibit in one go. And then we blow thousands of pounds of snow into the exhibit for them to have fresh every single day. It's really good for them to walk on, but it's also really great for them to eat. It's a great form of fresh water for them. Penguins, they swim in entirely salt water, so their snow is one of the only forms of fresh water that they can have. But when you're a penguin, you kind of make do. So they actually have an adaptation where they're able to drink salt water, which is pretty cool. So they're able to drink the salt water and secrete the excess salt from a gland right next to their eyes. And that excess salt secretes out of their body, and that way they're able to use the water that they swim in. If that water were to ever touch your tongue, it would be the saltiest salt water you'd ever taste in your entire life. And I am speaking from experience on that one. So that's one of the things that we do here, is taking care of their the exhibit by throwing out that ice every single day. And then what my coworkers are doing right now is something that we also have to do every single day, which is taking care of the health of our animals. So they're going through, they're double checking everyone, making sure everyone's eyes look clear, that their feet look good. And right now, their feather health is very important. So most of our birds are about to go through something called a molting cycle. And if you're a penguin, it's actually called a catastrophic molt, which it's just as dramatic as that sounds. They actually lose every single feather on their entire body all in one go, and they grow their fresh shredded feathers in underneath them. So it takes about 3 weeks from start to finish. It doesn't really feel great during that time because you're not waterproof when you're growing in your new feathers, so they can't go hunting for food in the water. So we're going through double checking, making sure everyone's about to go through that process. We want to document that is really important for their health. As long as penguins take care of their feathers, actually water will never touch their skin in their entire lives. So they will tediously take care of their feathers. They also engage in a behavior called allopreening, which is basically where they will socially groom each other to form bonds with one another. So you'll often see penguins grooming each other, itching each other, making sure their feathers lay nice and perfectly, because it is very important for them to take care of those feathers so that they are waterproof, that they have that wetsuit layer. So for about every square inch of penguin, there's 80 to 100 feathers or so that create an interlocking wetsuit. So that is super important for them. They spend about 80% of their lives in the water, so they need to be waterproof. Our water in here is the coolest water in the entire park. It sits at about 40 degrees or so. So very, very cold, and they love it. Every single day we have to get inside the water with these guys and actually scrub the windows from the inside because the water is so cold. That's why we get some condensation on the outside, because it's much warmer in here than it is in there. Something else about being inside versus being outside is we can't really hear out here actually what's going on in the colony. Penguins are very, very vocally oriented animals. They have vocalizations for everything. Every species has different vocalizations from one another. The thing I like to kind of tell people is our Gentoo penguins, they have a very silly vocalization to us, but they will basically bow and hiss at each other, and that's their way of greeting one another. So it's basically when they bow and hiss at each other, that's their way of saying, I'm excited to see you. They will often do that when they return home to their nest site, when they're greeting their partner or other penguins they know. So if you ever see one of our Gentoo penguins kind of do that bowing behavior, that's what that is. But every single penguin species has their own unique behaviors and vocalizations that they will do to each other and to us as their human caretakers. We actually form very close bonds with them, and they tend to recognize our unique voices. So when we go out in the morning, we start talking to all the penguins. They will often recognize who their favorite person's voice is, and they'll run right over to them. And you'll get a little penguin posse following you around. These guys, they eat and eat. So one of our things that we have to do here is make sure that they stay nice and fed. It takes a huge team of us to take care of these guys with the cleaning and feeding of these guys. So right now, they are eating a ton because they're bulking up for that molting cycle that I mentioned earlier. So they're putting on a lot of weight because they're gonna go through that cycle where they can't eat for about a month. And so they want to put on as much weight as they can before that. So right now we're breaking out about 700 pounds of fish every single day to feed these guys. And it takes an entire team to make sure that they stay nice and fed. We'll often throw huge buckets of of fish into the water for them to hunt naturally. That's called broadcast feeding. We'll do that throughout the day to let them hunt for themselves, to collect and eat that fish. We'll also hand feed these guys where we walk around with those big buckets and offer them fish. That's a really great place for us to also make sure that they look good, that their eyes are clear, and that they are able to engage with us. These guys right now, they're eating a couple different kinds of fish. So they eat capelin and herring as a main form of their diet. They also eat smaller fish like krill and silversides and night smelt. Kind of depends on the time of year about what they're favoring, but these guys will often favor different kinds of fish throughout the year. So right now they're very, very into herring because it is a high-fat fish. It gives them a lot of calories for their buck. Penguins, they actually don't have any teeth, so they can't chew their food. So basically, they swallow everything whole, and if it fits into their mouth, they're gonna try and swallow it. They have little folds of skin actually inside of their mouths that kind of resemble teeth, but they are not hard like a tooth is. So they don't actually use them for chewing. They use them to help guide the fish down into their throat. So if you were to look inside of a penguin's mouth, it wouldn't be full of teeth. It would be full of tiny little skin folds. So it looks pretty crazy if you ever look up a picture of that. And it looks like I'm kind of coming up the end of my time here, but I'll be hanging out in the lobby for a little bit. So if anyone has any questions, maybe something I didn't go over in my talk today,